Hello, everybody, and welcome to the season finale of People Always Ask. We'll be right back around, later in the fall. But for now, we are on our last episode, and every single episode this season, I might have mentioned that sometimes meditation is not the best case scenario for people. People need to do other types of grounding, people need to do other types of reconnecting. And so when it comes to being connected to your body, reconnecting to your body, it's a skill that almost every single person benefits from. And for those of us who have experienced trauma, it's actually an absolutely necessary first step in the process of healing, right? And so for today, I'm just going to try, and I'm going to have my phone out a little bit for notes. So I'm in a different place than usual because I am going to be leading us through different techniques, different ways to really reconnect with your body, to learn how to both become aware of what's going on and to relax and to ground yourself. And so today is totally just about demonstrating and doing along. Never at any point should you feel obligated to do every single one of these exercises at once. I would suggest maybe doing two. And so the first things that we're going to sort of introduce are going to be pretty simple. And as we go, we're going to gain all sorts of different imaginary tools and breathing tools. And so why don't we just get into it, right? Because I told y'all I was going to help you reconnect to your body. And the first thing that you need to know is that every single thing that we're going to do is going to end with noticing how you feel afterwards. Because even if you do all this stuff, the skill of checking in with your body is not about being relaxed. The skill about being in your body is about being able to read what is it doing, what does it need. And so this is really about both being able to ground yourself and to get more comfortable tuning into what your body is telling you, because emotions, as I say, are information, as Taoists say, are information and energy. And so we want to really get to the point where we're understanding what is the energy that your emotions are giving you and what does it mean, right? What is the information? And so let's just get down to it. So the first category of things that we're going to be doing are all grounding. In between, just to change the ticker so you know what they're called, I'm going to run up to the camera and do it. This first thing is called phew breathing. And so phew breathing is pretty much a phonetic technique. And what it is that you're going to take a normal breath in. It doesn't even have to be one that's particularly heavy, but usually what they recommend doing first is you take a seat, you get comfortable, you sort of plant your feet on the ground. If you need to, you can close your eyes. Take one or two cleansing breaths. And on the exhale, you're going to do something that almost sounds like a horn on a boat or a foghorn or something like that. You're going to go boo. And it doesn't have to look pretty. The aim of it is really just vibrating the inside. And so you're going to inhale. And on the exhale, you're going to give a boo. I know, sounds a little silly, looks a little ridiculous. Doesn't really matter. The point of it is that you hold that boo out for 3 to 5 seconds. It doesn't have to be particularly long. You do 3 to 5 rounds of this, and eventually what ends up happening is your body will naturally calm down. I don't know why it works, but it generally works for people. So you can do a couple of rounds of phew breathing. So that's the first way to notice your body and ground your body, is just through what we call phew breathing. The next thing that I'm going to show you are called heel drops. And so heel drops are really about noticing a couple of things. And so in every activity, you're going to be orienting towards some part of your body. During the phew breathing, we're orienting towards our breath and towards that sound and that resonance that happens in our chest. During heel drops, we're doing something really simple. All it is that we're taking our foot, right? And you're not going to be able to totally see what I'm doing here because I am a little below the camera, but you're taking your feet, you're stepping up, and you're dropping back onto your heels. But before we start this process, you're just going to look off into the distance. Allow your eyes for a second just to defocus. All right? And then refocus. Allow your eyes to defocus again. And now you're going to go up onto your toes and drop back. You can do it with as much force as you want to onto those heels. And while you're doing these, really just noticing the feeling on your hips, noticing the sensation on the ground, right? And you can really give yourself a nice thud, right? And that's sort of just to help you reconnect to the here and now. This is just grounding, right? It's not about making you feel 100% better. It is about bringing the attention, right, of the effect of your body moving into your system. Just noticing that. And so we're going to try, after we do the heel drops, when we go up and we're going back, to allow ourselves each time to just kind of relax into the motion of it, right? Go up and to let it drop back down. So now, after you do the heel drops, as I've sort of promised, right, we're just going to try to relax. And you want to do heel drops for about 1 minute usually, right? So we're going to do 60 seconds of just kind of not focused, just imagining that your entire weight is dropping down onto your heels. Effort of doing these heel drops into the earth, noticing that with your eyes kind of defocused while noticing the sensation. And after a minute, right, we're going to sort of just shake it out. And so the next part of this is actually about noticing what needs to be shaken. So we're going to shortly pause. And while we pause, we're going to go to the next thing, which is just shaking. And that sounds so simple because it is simple. And this is why body reconnection is actually much more intuitive than it seems like. But these activities are things that people don't necessarily think about when they think about mindfulness and somatics and being conscious of your body. And so we're just going to get into a standing position, right? And we're going to create a gentle bounce with our knees and our legs. And so we're going to shake your body almost like you can sort of gently rock your whole self, just with your hips and your legs, if you just create enough movement there. And so you might want to shake, right? But the biggest part of this is to try to relax around all the parts of you. It might be your jaw, it might be your neck, it might be your back. But what we're really doing is we're noticing and we're allowing our body to relax and shake and relax and shake. And so one of the things that this is doing for us is to now notice around your jaw, your lower back, your tailbone, all your spine, right? And so you want to do this and just kind of create a little looseness for yourself, right? And if you want to, you can kind of push backwards or forwards and you can shake that way, right? If that feels more appropriate. So you can do that for about a minute. This next thing is actually not too dissimilar, even though it involves breathing. And so one of the things that we want to do again is we want to notice our breath. We're also going to get into noticing our chin, our hips, our back, our body, our spine in this one. And so wave breathing is about literally kind of taking your body with a wave. And on the inhale, you're going to step up. You're going to lean forward. You're going to arch your back out. You're going to take your back and you're going to arch it like that on the inhale. And on the exhale, inhale. And then on the exhale, what you're going to do is the exact opposite. You're going to kind of crunch your body down, getting that air out, arching that tailbone under. And so wave breathing is going to look kind of like this. And you're just noticing back and forth in a wave with your body, what part of you, your tailbone, your lower back, any part is feeling any sort of tension. And so you're just moving. And as you're doing this, you can do it for about 8 breaths. This doesn't have to be something that you're doing for a long time, right? So you can even count and just pay attention to the movement in your spine, pay attention to the movement in your hips and your breath, right? And so finally, in this category of grounding, we have something called bamboo swaying. And so this is actually just to release any built up tension. And so this helps to release sort of tension in your body and other places. And so all you're going to do here is you're going to put your hands down on your sort of thigh area, and you're going to allow yourself to rock back and forth, right? You're sort of just going to allow yourself to sway. And if there's any built up tension, and so this is not unlike the swaying, except this is much gentler. We're not moving the feet, we're not moving the knees, we're just taking a minute to feel the tension, right, in our body, sway from side to side with it. Imagine yourself like bamboo in the wind, just kind of moving with whatever excess energy there is, because we're really trying to get this out of your body. And so the last part of this is simply standing. Now that we've done all of these different activities, the boot breathing, the heel drops, the wave breathing, and now we also did the bamboo swaying. And so all of that is going to be just different ways to ground. You can do one, you can do two, you can do some combination. But no matter what you do, the last step should always be that you are checking in with your body. So now that I've done this, do I notice I'm more grounded? Do I feel more connected? Am I feeling my body? And if so, what's there? Is it heavy? Is it light? Is there movement? Is there stillness, right? Is there tension and pain? What do I notice happening in my body? And so that stillness we're just going to stand with. No judgment, but we just did some moving, right? And so the next category of things that we're going to do things in is about quieting and flowing. Right. And so flowing, when it comes to body awareness, is really just allowing the movement and the energy to guide you rather than you consciously overthinking and guiding your body without that sort of unspoken language and guidance that there is inside of you. And so this activity that we're doing, and we're just going to do one example for this kind of quieting and flow, but this also in this category would be included mindful dancing. Right, if you want to just do body movements, not looking at yourself, not necessarily worried about how it is, but following that energy, that's quieting and flow. But we're going to do an activity called grab and let go. So grab and let go is actually a side-to-side kind of situation. And so you're going to stand, and you can do this on both sides, right? But I'm going to show you just one-sided because it's the same on each. What you're going to do is this is really about weight shifting and about intentionally moving from one area of weight to another and just kind of letting yourself flow with it. And so you just saw me do the movement. That's all that it is. And so what it is that you're going to lean into one of your feet. I'm leaning into my right foot right now. You're going to lean into it. You're going to grab. You're going to feel that weight, pull yourself, and then you're going to come back and you're going to let go. And you're going to sway with both your feet on the ground. And then you're going to go forward with your heel. You're going to grab. And then you're going to come back and you're going to let go and you're going to notice. And so the ideal of this is that you're going to grab and let go. You're going to grab and you're going to let go. And then you're going to switch sides, just noticing the weights shift from your heel that you're leaning into with the fist. And you're going to kind of grab and make a fist at the end of that and let go at the end of it, right? And this is about noticing, right? And so at the beginning of this, if you want to again, or at the end of this, if you want to again, you can just sort of defocus your eyes for a second, just kind of notice your body. Okay, and as we're defocusing our eyes after this grab and let go, we're going to do what? We're going to check in again. So we're going to defocus our eyes after the grabbing and letting go. We're going to notice what's there. We're going to notice if it's heavy, if it's moving, if it's got some color or some sort of sensation. We're just going to notice. What does it feel like inside right now? And so as we move, the next thing is a category called breath of life. And so breathing, as you know, is a huge part of body mindfulness work and different activities. And so we're going to show, we've already done VU breathing, right? But this is about taking a little bit more control over the type of breath that you're taking. And there's actually two types of breaths that you can take. There's an active breath, which kind of activates you. So in yoga, sometimes they have this thing called Bhastrika breaths. They're actually called fire breaths, where you breathe really quickly and that kind of quick breathing kind of activates you, We're not going to quite do that because sometimes that can make people who have trauma get triggered. But we are going to do active breathing in another way. Now, if you've ever done vocal lessons, if you've ever been to vocal coaching, this should not be unusual to you. So this is a form of active breathing, and it actually engages the system to connect better. And I don't know why it does this, but if you're a singer and you've done this activity, you'll know that it's true. For some reason, it helps you breathe correctly. What you do is you take a nice breath into your belly down here. And on the exhale, instead of a normal exhale, you're going to go with about as much force as you can, without it seeming like you're going to spit all over the place. You just want to get a nice good And so this is really good, I guess, if you have some extra shushing to do around the household. This is also something that can activate your body, right? And so when we're doing the active breathing, it's useful for opening your diaphragm, hence why it's also a singing warm-up, right? But it's also good for moving internalized states that are stuck. So we're talking about fear, worry, discomfort, right? So we have things that actually come up in our body that limit our breathing. And as you can imagine, fear, panic actually doesn't allow for us to fully breathe in the same way that we normally do. So when we're in an anxious state, doing something like active breathing, just consciously going, it gets us into a place of more open, connected breathing where our diaphragm is working with us instead of against us, right? And even when we're singing, it's going to open us up into a space where we have more resonance. And that's because it means that everything's flowing. We kind of can get more vibration going off of our body, similar to what the phew breathing is doing for shaking up those internal sets. And so now for calming breathing, right, which is something different. We're not going to do the shushing, right? Because the point of a calming breath is not necessarily to activate our system or to make us more kind of open in terms of how we're breathing and shake something out. We are trying to quiet and gently kind of calm our body with our breath. And so another trauma-based way of breathing, and that takes away kind of the triggering effect of it sometimes for folks, in addition to the shush, in addition to the phew, is calming breathing, and you make a kind of a humming sound when you breathe out. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of press your lips together gently. Try to find a level of pressure between them that creates the most vibration through your whole head. So we're actually looking for sort of a whole head experience when you're humming in this calming breath. It's not just going to be something where you're and you don't really feel it anyway. Really try to find it in your face, and then you're going to make this sound for as long as you can, and then you're going to breathe in again. So it's going to look something like this. You're going to inhale, and then you're going to go similar to the breath that's involved in meditative chanting and things like that. So we're going to go back into it, and this does work, right? Thousands of years of internal knowledge in Buddhism and also now in science, we find that this breath, the resonance of it calms us down. So you can do this for about 8 breaths, similar to the shushing, right? And so it's particularly effective for some reason at stimulating the part of our system that gets over aroused when we're getting triggered by all sorts of threats and we need to relax, right? So let's say I got into an argument with my mom or something triggered me about my past abuse. This is actually one of the most effective breathing techniques at getting to that part of your brain. They call it the vagus nerve that gets overactivated when we've been through trauma. And so just the and breathing in a cycle is actually going to help you get back down to the state where you're not triggered, where you can relax, where you have access to that. And then once again, we're going to sort of stand after we do something like that, and we're going to check in. How am I feeling? Maybe a little lightheaded. Maybe I'm feeling good and relaxed. Just notice it, right? Because you're also noticing when you check in, what do I need? What does my body need? And so this last activity is really about taking control, right? It's about noticing the difference between controlled and relaxed, between tense and relaxed. And so we're going to just call it taking control. There's actually two things that we're going to do here. One takes a little bit longer than the other. Some of you guys might have heard of the first one because it's pretty common. It's called progressive relaxation. And so progressive relaxation is really sort of about noticing every single part of your body and whether it is tense or relaxed. And if it isn't, really engaging in it to get some information, right? And so this is really about muscles that sometimes can be over sort of engaged, and also muscles that can be under engaged. So this is about really intentionally checking in with every part and starting to regulate our body state, right? And so the first step of any sort of somatic or body-based work is that you have to know what your body does. You have to be able to check in. And so progressive relaxation does this. And so I'm not going to be able to do this in quite the sort of speed that this deserves, because this really deserves to be slowed down, to be done in a thoughtful way. But we're going to do it for the sake of time so that you understand how it works. And then we're going to move into the spot of checking in, right, and getting into the last thing that we're going to teach, that I'm going to show you today, the technique, which is swinging. Not like with your partner, it's a whole nother thing, but we'll get into that. So first, progressive relaxation. You're going to start right at the top of your head, between your forehead and your scalp. First, you're just going to take a moment and you're going to tense them on purpose and release. Tense as much as you can manage to actually control, and release. Now, you're going to go down to your face and do exactly the same thing. 3 sets of tensing and releasing. Tensing and releasing. That includes your jaw, your cheeks, your face, right? And really noticing the difference between those two things and trying to leave the last phase on as relaxed as it possibly can be after getting as tense as you can think about making it, right? And relaxing. And so the next thing is your neck and your shoulders. You're going to tense up and relax. Tense and relax. Now you're going to do the same thing for this sort of core area here. You're going to tense in the middle and release. You're going to tense and release. Back down. You're going to tense and release. And you're going to, one more time, as much as you can, tense and release. Now we're going to do it in each arm. We're going to tense that top muscle and release that top muscle as much as we can. We're going to move down the arm and do the same thing. We're going to tense this lower muscle of your arm. And we're going to release. And then we're going to take your fingers and we're going to put full tension into them. And we're going to release the tension. And then we're going to put full tension again. And then release the tension. And so fist, and then releasing the fist. And then noticing, right? Just noticing the relaxation as much as we can. You're going to do that on both arms, tensing and releasing. And just relaxing as much as you can. And then we're going to do the same thing where we tighten our hips in our middle as much as we can and release them, right? Going down to our thighs, tightening and releasing, just to notice what the sensation of that is. We're tightening, and sometimes it helps to kind of get an action in there. You might want to squeeze up, right? You might want to squeeze forward to notice, right? And then as we get to those calf muscles, you might want to tighten by standing on your toes and release by leaning back and rocking around and relaxing and doing that to engage the bottom. And if you need to, you can sit while you do this. There's no rule. You can stand or sit, whatever makes you feel more engaged to your whole body. And then you're going to take it all the way down to your feet, where you're going to tense your toes and release, and tense your toes and release, And then finally, you're going to take a moment where you're going to notice anything that when you were scanning down, when you were tensing everything and relaxing it part by part, notice where was the most tense, where was the most sort of dead or unconnected. And just go back there for a second and try to re-engage with it with your breath and tense it up. For me, my shoulders always hurt. And so I'm gonna take a breath into that, ooh, and tense it and release on purpose. And I'm gonna do it again. And I'm just gonna have another kind of compassionate moment in that progressive relaxation with the parts of me that felt like they might need a little extra relaxation and a little extra attention. And so finally, last but certainly not least, is something relatively simple called swinging. And it's after all of this tensing and relaxing, right? We're just, again, doing something to make sure that we discharge any extra energy. Now you've noticed, you've gone through your whole body. You've noticed if it's tense or detached or feeling overly anxious or holding on to something. And so what you're going to do is you're going to stand and you're going to turn your upper body side to side, and you're looking over your right shoulder and then your left, right? Gently rotating your whole body. And so your arms can be floppy, they can follow the movement so that they gently are at your sides. And so you're going to get to relax your knees and you're going to relax your hips, right? And so what we're really going to do is we're going to start here. And this is all about extra tension, right? We're going to start here and we're swinging. We're swinging. If we need to, we're releasing our arms. If we need to, we're putting our arms by our side. If it feels right, we're engaging our hips in a full swing. We're just noticing any excess energy, if you need to make a noise, if you need to release, right? And so this swinging doesn't require any music or anything, but it is similar to sort of just ecstatic dance and those sort of free embodied movements. We're just swinging to release the excess stuck energy, okay? And then once again, after we've released it, after we've tensed and released and we noticed where it was and we swung it out, we're just sitting for a second and noticing what's there. My heart rate's up, not forcing my breathing. I'm noticing what's left. And so for now, those are all the different ways that you might begin to build some awareness of your body. There are so many ways that you can alternate these activities together. You do not have to do them all in this order. They are all individual techniques to ground and relax and connect you to your body. And then there are things that you can do together based on how you feel, right? And so things like swinging, things like reaching and grabbing that sort of allow us to reclaim and to reach for our energy. Those are really simple things that we can do when we feel built up tension, right? Things like the VU breathing and the calming breathing, right? Those are things when we feel like our trauma is triggered that are very easy to go to. And if you're by yourself, you can be as loud as you want and as hot as you want and pick whichever ones from this suit you best. They're not all for everybody, which is why I really tried to sort of hone in on the parts of this that are really the most sort of diverse set of things that I can help you guys sort of get just on your own without the guidance of a therapist or anybody else. This isn't going to replace trauma treatment. But no matter what, you do need to begin to become aware of your body in order to really start to notice what's going to make it better. And so if we're talking about regulation, if we're talking about depression, if we're talking about anxiety, all of that, no matter who I'm working with. The first session, what I always tell people is I need you to notice your body. It's not because you need to feel good, it's because you need to be connected. And your feelings have functions. And if you don't know what they are, they'll drive you around and they'll control you, and you're not going to be the authentic regulated version of you who controls them and makes thoughtful choices about what your emotions are telling you rather than impulsive choices. So don't fight yourself. This is all about being present with yourself, giving yourself space to know that this builds a skill set, and a skill set that is going to help you heal through any traumatic set of events better than if you didn't have them. So if you want to teach this to your kids, if you want to integrate some of this with other people that in your life, I encourage people who feel uncomfortable in partnership to do these things together. Can I feel safe with you even for a little while? And so all of these things, I think they can be done in group, alone, with friends, with family. Try to build safety as much as you can. Try to build body connection and vulnerability in those ways as much as you can, wherever you need. And so I'm going to end this by pulling a card as per usual. And since this is the season finale, I'm hoping it's a good one. But I don't have control over what the ancestors and the spirits have to tell you, y'all. It's just going to be what it is. And so I'm going to pull it. Let's see. This is actually a card that I don't think we've ever pulled in here. This is the Chariot card. So it's not a dark message, but I'm going to go ahead and just try to go to my little guidebook so I can be really clear about what the message of this from the ancestors really is for us. Victory is mine. It's not an illusion. My willpower makes winning a foregone conclusion is the poem before this. And so this is about willpower, drive, determination, victory, courage, heroes, warriors. We all have worldly aspirations, mountains to climb, races to win, tests to pass, obstacles to overcome. But the Chariot, it's a strong-minded, young energy that can help us achieve them. So this is the hero of myth and story, readily accepting challenges and remaining doggedly determined to succeed, to slay the dragons. So this is really a card about being in the same mindset, being focused on your goals and drive until you realize them in your present life. And so this might be reaching new heights in a particular area, right? It might be breaking free of bad habits or bad thoughts. It might be keeping on, right? Just getting through the hard times of life. But this is about the focus and drive needed to realize your dreams and your potential. And so this is really talking about balancing opposing thoughts, opposing desires and feelings, being aware that by remaining centered, which is really what we're talking about with this body connectedness, remaining centered within, you can more easily control the inevitable external demands placed on you. Right. And so when we're talking about taking control, this Chariot card, and I mean, y'all could look this up. I wish I was this good to pull a card that was this appropriate on deck. But really, the message of it is that you can't always literally wear armor, right? Like sort of this warriors wearing armor would, but you can remain in your effort to make sure that you're not being undermined emotionally or in your goals in life, right? And that means that you don't want to let emotions or your lack of centeredness distract you from your purpose. You want to be self-disciplined enough, have enough willpower that you can control what's going on. And similarly, look, he's controlling the horses. He ain't got no reins, right? And so the point of that picture is that if you have enough control of self, if you have enough direction, if you are centered enough and connected enough, that without having to pull and try so hard, that centeredness will keep you in control, grounded, and more ready for the things that life throws at you, right? And so the personal effort of really trying to reconnect with your body, this is the value, right? The personal effort, the value of this is that it's mind over matter, that if you stay focused on the goal of connecting with your feelings and understanding their function, making sure that you can get back to safety and you can make good choices, right? That you can realize the true you and you can demonstrate that out in the world, right? So you don't just have to experience that alone. That balance that this is going to give you helps you better deal with triggers, helps you better deal with unexpected stress, helps you better deal with family members and the normal parts of life around making choices and love and joy and safety. This is all balance. And so the card that we take away on this last episode of People Always Ask is for you to stay vigilant and diligent in the effort of self-care and reconnection with your body. Because if you do, all of the things that you really want, all your goals will be yours because you will be more able to access your strengths. You will be more resilient to get through the tough times. And on top of that, your insight will be invaluable about how to take care of yourself and what it means about situations if you can reconnect in this way. So until next time, I am so happy to share this with you. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll always see them. Have a wonderful night. And until the next season, thank you for joining us on Young Boss Media for People Always Ask.